Well, coming up and down Rookie Rulli, we've got a big top of the table clash in the Portuguese League where we take on Sporting. That comes off the back of Ajax in the Champions League, but we go into that game off the back of our first defeat here at Benfica to a second division team. So just a little embarrassing. Hello everyone and welcome to episode number 89 of Rookie to Royalty here on Shaun Does FM with Benfica. I hope you're doing well. And coming up today we've got Ajax first up in the Champions League, looking to back up those two big wins we've picked up so far with one there at home, and then we also host Sporting, but that one in a top of the table clash. Hopefully you guys are looking forward to those two games coming up in today's episode, but it comes off back of us taking on Porto in the league in yesterday's episode, as well as Manchester City away from home in the Champions League. So if you missed the episode, I'll leave a link to it over in the top right corner. Played 3 games since then, 2 in the league and 1 in the Portuguese Cup, our first game in that competition. And as you will be able to tell by that little intro, it did not go too well. But first up, actually, we took on our Refocus ADs, actually 4 games. I forgot that first one there that we did play against our affiliate club before the international break. That one a little bit more routine, despite a little bit of rotation that we did do. We picked up a 3-0 winner, first half goal there to Trincao, I believe, his first one since he's joined the club, and also to Rose Renati. They popped up with goals too, so that was pretty good considering that our Verkasada have been quite good so far here in this season. But ever since the international break, it's been a little bit up and down. Vitória Guimarães, to be fair, came to that game. We played against them in some quite good form, right up there inside of the top 4. And we were pretty loose in this game. Took a 1-0 lead early thanks to Rui Silva from a corner, but off the back of that, we conceded through David Eze. And then 10 minutes later, it was Nehan Perez with a giveaway, which did lead to them being able to take a 2-1 lead. Thankfully, Eden Husic a few minutes later made it 2-all. We were well and truly the better team in that game, but just couldn't find a way to pick up all 3 points. So our first couple of drop ones there in the league, thankfully, our only drop points so far, because then we took on Vizela and bounced back big time with an 8-0 win at home. Nadi there for a penalty again. Silva, Renan, Castillejo, Husic, and Martinez all with goals in De Rosa. He picked up a double, so a lot better there at home in that game off the back of that draw at Vitória Guimarães. Did think then we could rotate before this Ajax and Sporting doubleheader in the third round, our first game in the Taça de Portugal, the cup over there in Portugal. But no, we took on a team from down in the second tier in Académico de Viseu, and it did not go too well, despite the fact they were only predicted to finish in 9th. We lost 2-1, honestly, not too sure here what went wrong. We conceded early. I don't actually remember the goal that well, so we might as well watch the highlights here of our first defeat of the season. And here is that goal that we did concede early. They're on the attack here, and just for some reason, we don't tackle them. An easy through ball there. Melro did put that one away, so they got a nice early 1-0 lead, and then, just as we made our way into injury time, putting all sorts of pressure on them, a missed header from Nehuén Perez yet again, and it leads to them making it 2-0, so really it was game over from there. Thankfully, saved some of our blushes by scoring a goal here through De Rosa, but by this stage, it was far too little too late, and we get beaten in our first cup game here at Benfica by a second division team, and I'm not too sure how. With those stats, we had a lot of shots on target, but only beat them once. They beat our goalkeeper with 2 of their 3 shots on target, obviously one of them not helped out there by Perez, who has been shocking off the back of yesterday's episode. Definitely feel justified in dropping him now, and really probably should have looked to sell him a bit more before that transfer window that did close in the final year of his contract at 32 years old, despite the fact that he should, attribute-wise, be the best centre-back here at the club. So that was embarrassing. Thankfully, the board don't care too much about the Taça de Portugal. It was only preferred. It's not ideal, but thankfully we're doing well enough in the Champions League as well as the actual league, and also, of course, picked up the Super Cup that I think we'll be able to get away with that. But our first defeat here of this save, definitely not the game you'd expect it to come up in, especially seeing as that game wasn't even scheduled at the end of yesterday's episode. But thankfully, in terms of the league, we'll focus on this more going to that second game of today's episode. It's a big old gap with both us and Sporting out from the rest of the pack, but that draw against Vitória Guimarães does mean that we're joint on points. That second game is going to be quite big, especially with that one being in front of our home fans. But before then, we look to really hammer home our good start to our Champions League campaign here as we take on Ajax. Obviously a bit unexpected that we've got 6 points from 6 going into this game, seeing as we've taken on Juventus as well as Manchester City. But this one at home, really am looking for a bounce back off the back of that loss in the cup, and especially with our first team coming back for this game. Thankfully, I'm pretty sure we've got no injuries. We actually do have one, but it's the Vitorino, who's our third choice central attacking midfielder, so thankfully that won't impact us too much. But Ajax, the best team you'd imagine over there in the Netherlands, and indeed that is the case. But really, this should be a team that we can beat based on our form so far this season, albeit they come into this one in very good touch themselves. Actually check here and see how they're doing in the Champions League compared to us, because we're inside of that top 8. Ajax are not too far behind, down in 17th. They've got a win and a loss in their first 2 games. That loss, it did come against KV Westerlo. Those guys, if I can find them, where are they? They're actually up there inside the top 8, are from Belgium. So really, if they're getting beaten by those guys, this is a team that we should be able to beat, especially in front of our home fans. And obviously, I'm looking here for a rather big bounce back from that horror show in the cup game that our rotation somehow did not get the job done in there against a team from down in the second tier. But a couple of changes here to our usual best 11, because some players we brought off the bench there in that cup game to try and save things, and it didn't work. So it does mean Ronaldo there does start at left back, and also we've got Trincao and Shadow Striker, because Kawamori on a heavy workload off the back of coming on in that cup game and not making enough of a difference. So maybe this 4-2-3-1 isn't quite as foolproof as I was hoping it would be. Obviously picked up some big wins with this tactic so far, including both here in the Champions League, but getting beaten there by a second division team, even with a rotation, is pretty darn embarrassing. As Ajax there, you would have seen their squad briefly, hopefully can bounce back here, especially in front of our home fans, because that was not a good way to lose our perfect record here so far at Benfica. I say perfect. A couple of draws in there, of course, that Vitória Guimarães result, as well as I think the first leg it was against Club Bruges away from home, took a bit of a late comeback there, but a bit surprised that that's the team that we lost our first game to here with Benfica. So fingers crossed here with a full strength 11 or pretty close to it that we can bounce back. But unfortunately a poor giveaway there does mean that Ajax here are on the ball early in the black uniforms. But thankfully Ronaldo there steps up nicely and wins that ball for us here down our left hand side, takes on the shot, and Husick is able to put that one away. Not too sure if he needed to, and it might actually be a problem because he might be offside. If he is, it's pretty dumb play, because really think that one was already going into the back of the net, and the luck at the moment might not be on our side, because indeed he is off. So a blown chance there to make it 1-0. It's only a slight offside, and I'm pretty sure that shot was going in from Ronaldo anyway, so not sure if that was needed, but blow a chance there to make it 1-0 before the 10-minute mark. And now Ajax here get a chance to make their way into our half from a throw-in, where they do make their way back inside their one there off the back of that taking place. But good footing there from Trincao does mean that now we can get on the front foot yet again. Calafitoglu, a poor pass though. Osterwalde can cover it well, but his pass, an absolute shocker, allows Fortea to find Piskunov, who puts it into an open net. So thankfully that offside goal, it doesn't hurt us for too long, because Husick there able to make the most of a shocking pass that from Osterwalde. In fact, it was Fortea, it was Husick who made the mistake that probably didn't need to be made there, putting that ball away, which resulted in that first goal being disallowed. But this time Osterwalde just having a shocker after recovering the ball there down that left-hand side for Ajax, and thankfully Fortea does some good work, squares it for Piskunov, and we make it 1-0. So maybe going to bounce back here after that really weird loss. Still not sure exactly how that did happen to a second tier team. Hopefully can get some faith back here from the board with a result in the Champions League. Again on the attack here with thrown inside of the final third. Some lovely footwork there from Eden Husick. He now makes up for the mistake which led to that first goal being ruled out, and puts it away. To be fair, that one I think was not the greatest work there from the goalkeeper for Ajax, but thankfully we've made it 2-0, an early cushion goal lead. So maybe gonna get a bit of bounce back here from that surprising club loss. Definitely should be a save there from Kavina in goal for Ajax, but thankfully somehow it finds its way from there. That shot from Husick. So 2-0 up here, about 10 minutes shy of half time. Hopefully can now hold on and get back on track here with our first team, as maybe it's just their rotation players who are a bit useless, in particular Nehuen Perez was our first choice centre back, but not anymore. The arrival of Rui Silva has really put him down the pecking order. Good work there again from Fortea to win that ball as Ajax were on the edge of our box. And now a chance for us here to do something somewhat on the counter-attack. Again, Fortea, he'll find Piskunov, plays it back there to Husik, who will play this over to Ronaldo in a bit of space there, down that left-hand side, and this time no one gets in the way of him, and it makes it his first goal of the season, so makes up there for that goal that Husik did kind of rob off him that got ruled out for offside. We make it 3-0. We're looking very good here for 3 points yet again in the Champions League. So nice work there from Fortea to win that ball back for us and get us going down that right-hand side. And then Ronaldo just given enough space there to put that one away like he threatened to earlier. As I said, probably deserved a goal there, but didn't quite get it thanks to Husik. But we make it 3-0. And just before half-time here, it is Ajax. So we're going to look to try and make this 3-1. Thankfully, Oosterweld puts that one well over the bar, and that should be it for the first half. Indeed it is. That is a very good display, probably our best first half so far this season against the team that aren't completely rubbish, or we to say that. We just lost to one who are completely rubbish. We're going to make a sub here. That is because Trincão's on a little bit of a deep yellow hut. Manes can come on at left wing and we'll try. Calafat-Toglu in the shadow striker role early here in the second half. But apart from that, really don't need too many subs if we can keep this league going. Can actually take some players off with that Sporting game coming up in a couple of days' time. Kind of similar to the situation we had yesterday with Porto and Manchester City on the quick backup. But hopefully can just see this out and get our confidence back there off the back of that weird old cup result. Thankfully, that header from Vandenberg goes quite safely over the bar from that first highlight here of the second half. But now we're going to take off the Luis on a yellow card for Franco Devia early in the second half. And also Ronaldo dropping down to a little bit of a deep yellow heart. We'll bring like Scudero saying, as he's usually a third choice centre back and left back. Might be a chance for him here to get some game time. And we'll just see if maybe also we should make one more sub here while we've got the chance, and we will take off their Calafat-Toglu for Kawamori, give him some game time there in central attacking midfield on a little bit of a heavy workload, but really having already brought on Manes there and still leaving Calafat-Toglu on the bench, do think that Kawamori might be the player that we don't need as much for that second game in today's episode, with the likes of Trincão as well as Piskunov, who can do a job there as Porto again are losing this time to AC Milan, but trying to make it 4-0. We float that one far post. Unfortunately, it was probably Silva there with the header, but that one comes off the bottom of the post, but still got a 3-goal lead here with just over 20 minutes left. But Ajax here are on the attack from a throw in deep inside of their own half to beefy. That ball to Menzo, it is quite good. They square it, and Peltman will put that one away, and he is not offside. So unfortunately, we do concede, and there's still a bit of time left in this game. Might make our final sub while we're here, because Fortea having a great game, but has dropped down to a little bit of a deep yellow hat. As I said, I'm pretty confident now that we'll hold on here, or be off the back of that goal. Maybe shouldn't be, but unfortunately, they do grab one back, but Fleury can come on there at right back and make sure that Fortea should be able to back up when we take on Sporting in that big top of the table clash in Liga Portugal. But unfortunately, Ajax, they do break us down. To be fair, we are still quite vulnerable with this tactic in terms of the shots and the shots that we do concede, the ratio of those. But Rui Silva will put that one away and give us our 3-goal lead back. So thankfully, don't have to worry here about being defeated. Going to be a quite comfy win indeed. There was no offside that time. There's a player there in the way of the goalkeeper, but he is onside. So thankfully, Silva, he strikes already, has picked up a number of goals since coming to the club. That's the reason that he's now partnered with Robert Renan at the back, especially off the back of what Perez did off camera since yesterday's episode. But again, here it's Ajax who are on the ball off the back of that goal that we did score. Maybe about to get quite mad here late on in this game, but you'd hope that with a 4-1 lead, we should be okay in picking up all 3 points. Somehow Humphreys does keep hold of that ball, and Monzo does get in behind us. There's some nice work from him, but thankfully the Lunin comes up with a good save. We do try and praise, but this highlight, it does continue from a corner. So let's see here what does happen. Thankfully Renan can clear that one, albeit not too well. Ajax here back on the attack, and Bjorn Menzo will beat Lunin from a pretty similar angle to what Ronaldo scored from in the first half a couple of times and make it 4-2. So a little bit leaky here late off the back of the subs that we have made. We dealt with the danger there from that corner initially, but Menzo is looking quite threatening and puts that one away. So 4-2. Let's see what happens now back down the other end here for a corner. Yet again, we pick out Rui Silva at the near post already. His 7th for the season. I'm pretty sure now he's joint with our backup striker and De Rosa. Might be tied as our second top goal scorer. So Rui Silva proving to be a very good signing, even though we may have overpaid for him coming back here to Benfica, but certainly our most threatening man from set pieces. That makes it 5-2, and we should be safe again. No chance now, you'd like to think, of an Ajax comeback, albeit they have a thrown here inside of the final third. Saito will take on the shot there. Will the Japanese centre-back and curve it into the bottom right corner. So I'm adding here to this game because that will start to time waste ever so slightly. Just make sure that Ajax don't make this 5-4, because then it would be slight panic stations. They're certainly coming at us here in the second half defensively, not nearly as good as we were in the first hour or so of this game, but Lunin really does give that one a harbour bridge. Not too sure what's going on there with our Ukrainian goalkeeper. That's a bit average from him off the back of a good save he pulled off. I think back when the scoreline it was 4-1 as we have the ball here, thankfully just do enough to keep it. Let's hope here we just hold on and don't give Ajax a chance here to make this 5-4, because then that would be concerning, even with only a few minutes left here of added time from the referee. There's 5, and we are in the second of those, but thankfully do keep hold of the ball. Escudero will find Marinez here inside the box. Can we make the 6-3 and grab our free goal cushion back? We can't, because Piskunov, his header, it does just go over the bar, but hopefully that will do it for all the highlights in this game. It ended up being a bit of a goal fest, honestly, statistically. Not our most dominant performance, but thankfully we're all over Ajax in that first half, building up there a 3-0 lead. Ajax definitely came at us there a bit more in the second half, but in the end it wasn't too worrying, because we had that big lead from that first half, and Rui Silva also popped up there with a couple of, in the end, quite important goals to make sure that we held on and picked up a 5-3 win. And it does mean that for now, and in fact at the end of this third match week, we are on top of the Champions League table. So a very nice win for us there. First up in today's episode, 5-3 over Ajax. A little bit shaky there in the second half, but thankfully that nice 3-0 lead. And it does mean that we sit on top of the Champions League. So really can maybe now afford to drop some points like we were expecting we would against the teams like Man City when we take on the likes of Atletico Madrid and PSG. And our next couple of games, we've got Linfield before them, but really those should be 3 more bankers. So expecting to come back there in late November and still be on top of the Champions League. But now need to bounce back domestically off the back of that cup defeat that I'm still stinging from here as we take on Sporting in Liga Portugal. Join on points with these guys. A big get back to the rest of the pack depending on who does win this game. So really big one, especially with us being at home for this. I've got a new manager this season in Eduardo Coudet. That one actually came up off the back of me joining Benfica here in the save. So maybe if we didn't apply for this job, that could be where we did end up potentially in the save. But obviously they've only dropped points in one game, and it was the exact same opposition that we dropped points to in Vitória Guimarães. So to be fair, 2 very evenly matched teams here in this top of the table clash in Liga Portugal. The only difference is these guys are yet to take on Porto, so that could be a difference maker, especially if we can find a way to beat them here in front of our home fans. But based on the season preview, this was the team expected to be a quite clear third best here in Portugal. It's quite hopeful that we can get past these guys and get fully back on track from that cup defeat. But obviously, having just beaten Ajax in the Champions League, would like to think here we can get the job done like we've been able to do so far this season here in Portugal, unless we take on second tier teams who for some reason might be better than the top tier teams in this save. But obviously in front of our home fans, and we are going here too with our best 11 these days in the save. So it's actually a little bit stronger than the team we put out for that Champions League game. So let's hope here we can put on a show and get ourselves solely on top of the Portuguese League. Got a French a little bit better than Sporting. We'd quite like to win this game. Obviously, with this being our home one, there's a chance in the back half of the season when we take on these guys as well as Porto, we could start to drop points. We have to take these guys on away from home. But fingers crossed here can win our second big derby here in Portugal against one of the other big 3 and grab a proper gap on top of that table just in case we do start to slip up in the back half of the season, especially because it's starting to look like we should be taking part in the Champions League knockouts and maybe even making our way straight through to the round of 16, which to be fair would be a big plus but we'll see how things do go. And unfortunately, Sporting here on the attack early. Abdullah gets that ball there down the left-hand side. Some nice short passing, and White here. That is Ben White, who will take that shot, playing it right back, it looks like. An interesting position for him, but thankfully Lunan comes up with a big early save to Sporting, coming at us really early here in this game. Thankfully, just doing enough to deal with the danger there from that corner. Eventually, an interception there from Florentino Luis, but that is a bit of a warning shot early there from our opposition. Thankfully, only a few minutes later, it's a free kick here in our favour. We knock the ball about here quite patiently down our right-hand side, but Fortea, greater than that Ajax game, loses the ball there briefly, but thankfully is able to get that one back. So a chance for us here to build again as we look to strike the first blow here in this big top of the table clash in Liga Portugal. Eventually play it one out there to our left-hand side. The ball goes in there looking for Piskunov, who will try and hit that one home, but it's a pretty innocuous floating header, and it does go well over the bar. So early stages here, it's still 0-all so far. Sporting definitely the more threatening of the teams with a free kick there, and we go quite close to Wilbeck there, saving Sporting from it being 1-0. I'm pretty sure that would have been Kalafitoglu from that free kick, but unfortunately, it does come off the Wilbeck. So now there's been two good chances here for both teams, one each, and it is still locked up at 0-all, but so far it's our shots not being on target that is a little bit frustrating here in this game, especially in front of our home fans. To be fair, a draw would not be that bad with these guys still having to take on Porto. They could drop some points there. Thankfully, a set piece, they put that one over the woodwork, but definitely could argue here that so far Sporting have been the better team in this game as we're about to make our way to the final couple of minutes here before halftime. We've had more shots but less possession, which is also a bit concerning with the tactic that we do use here with our Benfica team. But now a free kick here just before halftime. Kalafitoglu will pick out Silva, picks out the Robert Renan inside the box, and somehow he scored a goal with his right foot. Not what you expect there from one of our centre-backs, but he picks up only his second of the season. Usually it's Rui Silva who scores in these situations. Silva actually picks up the assist. A nice link up there from our two centre-backs. Definitely not what you'd expect from two players in that part of the field, but thankfully do take a 1-0 lead. And now another free kick here just before halftime. Good to hear that one from Kawamori, but it comes off the woodwork. Did think there briefly when I got tipped there from the Sporting goalkeeper, but in the end we finished strongly in that first half and just do enough to take a 1-0 lead into halftime. So at the moment, we'll be going 3 points clear here in Liga Portugal as long as we can hang on. There's no one out there on too poor rank. To be fair, Kalafitoglu is 6.5, so maybe we'll see how he gets on here early in the second half. At the moment, it's a win over our most direct rival here in Liga Portugal. But now Castillejo, an orange injury. Let's hope that's not too serious. We'll bring Monsalvo on for him, and for now, that will be all we do. To think there briefly that in Husick might be about to drop down to a red heart. That might be a sub we need to make. Maybe the same time that Kalafitoglu might need to come off as well. Not going too well on a 6.5, and also is on a bit of a deep yellow heart, just like Husick is on the other side. But so far the second half has been pretty quiet, and now might be a good time here to bring on Martinez for a struggling Kalafitoglu. And also actually Piskunov not going too well. De Rosa will bring on up front and see if he can help us score a goal to give us a cushion lead. And now it is actually Husick who eventually drops down to a red heart. Soso can come on there at right wing, and it looks like Fortea on the deepest heart of the rest of the players out there. Obviously want some fresh legs down those wings with how he plays. So Preti can come on there with the final sub that we do have with 20 minutes left. We're hanging on here to this 1-0 lead, but definitely not a super dominant performance. Only 2 shots on target here from both teams now make that 3, but we are eventually getting on the front foot here in the second half. Sporting thankfully have not been up too much, but seeing as we've only got a 1-0 lead, time for us here to start time wasting just a little bit with 10 minutes to go. We'll up that soon if we need to and still have that 1-0 lead. But to be fair, the second half, it has been very quiet, but we're off the back of doing that time wasting. There is a highlight here, a free kick to Sporting, and they find a little bit of space here down that right-hand side. They try and float a ball far post. Thankfully, Pretty can deal with it, but to be fair, it wasn't the greatest header clear, but thankfully a foot in there does mean that Sporting do get on the back foot. Let's hope now that we can break up this attack. Some nice short passing, and Ismail Saibari will put that one away. If he stayed onside, there is going to be a VAR check. It's a good finish into the bottom right corner, but thankfully he did just straight offside. So thankfully the header there from Pretty does not prove too costly, because I was wondering what he was doing. Could have just headed that one out there but gave it straight back to a Sporting player, and we hold on to our 1-0 lead thanks to an offside highlight here, just as I was about to time waste even more. We'll see what happens, saying as we're the team here who are on the ball. We try and fizz one there into the mixer. Thankfully, looked like a foul there on a Sporting player as they tried to clear the lines. It wasn't given. We play it for there to De Rosa, but I'm pretty sure this time it's a clear-cut offside. So I think here both teams might get a goal ruled out in quick succession, and indeed, that is what happened. So it's still only 1-0 here with just under 5 minutes left. Absolutely no doubt there that De Rosa, he is offside. So now we'll get our wing-backs here to switch to full-backs, try and be a little bit more defensive, lower our tempo, up the time wasting, and also be more disciplined. Let's hope that might be all we see in the match engine for this game. To be fair, that second half has been very, very quiet apart from those offside goals, which aren't too interesting, but thankfully we hold on there and pick up a 1-0 win. That Renan goal in the first half, not how you expect us to score there through our centre-backs, but thankfully he thumps that one into the top right corner, and we get the job done and pick up a 1-0 win defensively. A very solid performance. Lunan actually picks up man of the match, just able there to pick up a big win in that top of the table clash. Will certainly bounce back from that shock defeat in the cup. Still not too sure how that happened even with a rotation team, but it does mean now a 3-point gap over Sporting, just over a quarter of the way through this Portuguese league season, and those guys have still got to play Porto before the halfway mark. So just able to do enough there to go top of the table here in Liga Portugal on our own there, picking up a win and to a circular derby. Probably just need to call that the circular derby. Actually forgot about that before we went in to that game. The name of that derby, we thankfully picked up a win over Sporting, which does mean a 3-point gap over those guys and a further 12 points back to Porto. Not too sure if the likes of Braga are truly a title contender this season, so that is a big win. As I said before, we have to take on those type of teams away from home in the back half of the season. Also, thankfully, Castillejo, that injury that he picked up is not too serious, only out for 11 days to 2 weeks. The reason I say that, despite the fact it's a rare injury, the games we've got coming up now do look a little bit light for the next little while in terms of opposition. We've got some weak ones. We've got Famalicão coming up in the League Cup. I think that it is here in Portugal. Obviously, would like to now do quite well in that competition off the back of what happened in the Cup before today's episode, but hopefully can pick up a win in our first group phase game there. You'll see down below. Oliveira de Hospital, the other team who are in our group. That's quite interesting because that's the team that came after us back when Jan Regensburg did around the time we made the first move in this save from Buxton. So a couple of games there we've got coming up in the League Cup, but to be fair, a quite big gap. But the games we play in the league coming up soon, as well as the Champions League, are pretty winnable. You'd like to think the Olympiad in the Champions League, Portimonense, as well as Arouca and Torrense in Liga Portugal. So I dare say we'll come back tomorrow to wrap up this week with a bit more Champions League action, even though we are in quite a strong position in that competition, because 2 big teams we take on Atletico Madrid away from home and PSG and Benfica. Some more points there, and surely we'll be in a good spot to make our way straight through to the round of 16. But that will do it for today's episode. Some good wins there off the back of that random ass loss that I suffered in the Cup off camera. If you enjoyed that one, then do remember to go down below, leave a thumbs up on the video, and if you haven't done so already and are enjoying the series here on the channel, also make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn that notification bell on as well until tomorrow for that Champions League doubleheader where we take on Atletico Madrid and PSG. Thank you very much for watching. Keep on keeping on, and I'll see you then. Cheers.